Hey everybody, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and in this episode, we're going to Eternia because we have two amazing, gorgeous, beautiful, and way too expensive action figures from Mondo. So today we're taking a look at two different figures here. We have the Masters of the Universe Revelations figure of Skeletor. This was a limited edition piece for only 2,000 pieces total, so pretty rare. Finally got this one here. And over here we have the Masters of the Universe, basically their normal Masters Universe line, version of He-Man, a classic version of He-Man himself. These are two, as I mentioned, incredibly pricey figures. This is my first time looking at Mondo toys in person, and I'm super hyped for this because I'm getting more into these like high-end collectibles these days. And stuff like Mondo is really the next level of collecting. And it's not for everybody. This stuff is, like I said, very, very pricey. This He-Man over here was $260. This Skeletor was $220, if you can believe it. So this is big time bucks here. But is all that money going to be worth it? Well, we're going to take a look and find out today. So first off, I do want to spend some time talking about the packaging because it's actually really lovely packaging here. So both of the box art was designed and created by Florian Bertmer. And it's really pretty stuff here. I mean, the Skeletor one is basically just like a scene right out of the Masters of the Universe Revelation cartoon, with now Skeletor getting the power for himself. It's really cool. I love that too. And on the back, we should add, you got a really nice picture of Skeletor, a little sneak preview of what this figure is going to look like, but we'll see a little bit more of him in a few moments. But I want to spend some time really admiring the work on the He-Man figure, because this one here is like, I want this as a poster, you guys. This is just gorgeous. You have He-Man three different ways. You got Battle Armor He-Man, you have normal version of He-Man, and then you have Thunder Punch He-Man, which is like the rarest version of him all in figure form. And they've just brought these toys to life. It's excellent packaging here. Other than that though, the boxes are fairly simple. At this point, there's not much else we can do here except take them out of the box and see if they truly do have the power, or if I have the power just to toss them onto eBay because they're not actually worth it. So let's go ahead, take them out of the packages, and get a closer look at them from all angles. Now before I completely unbox the action figures, I wanted to show you guys one really cool feature about the packaging here. And this is one of my favorite things that more higher end collectibles are doing today. This figure, and both of them actually, have magnetic enclosures. And I just like playing with them. So yeah, it's really cool because it's a great way to see into the figure. I was wrong, there actually is a way to see inside. So here we go, magnetic enclosure, which opens this way like a little bit of a book. And voila, we have now our Masters of the Universe figure and a nice little photo of our character here in action. So I know there's a bit of glare, so you can't quite see everything, but don't worry, we're going to take a close look at him in a few moments. But again, just loving the yellow and the dark colors here, the yellow and the black, great combination. Love this diorama piece here. And yeah, the more I'm looking at this already, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe this thing here. So that's how our He-Man looks. But let's take a look now at our Skeletor. And this Skeletor, same thing, another magnetic enclosure. I could just play with that for hours, and that's going to be my next ASMR video. But let's open him up as well. And damn, I think I might like this one more, honestly. You know, the cool thing about this Skeletor is, again, it's in Revelation style, so it's a little more of the animated format for him and more modern Netflix style animated. But what I really like here is this section here. I really like this illustration. And to be honest, you could almost like double this as a backdrop for some things. I mean, we're going to see how tall he is. I think he's going to basically barely fit. But if you're doing like shots of his head or things like that, you could probably use this as a backdrop. And that's pretty cool extra bonus in there. So that's how these guys look. But that's enough of that. Let's go ahead now and take a closer look at them out of the package. All right, so I've got all the figures now out of the packaging, and by the way, I do want to add, it's very collector-friendly packaging. It's going to be really easy to put everything back in when I'm done with this review, but chances are they're probably not going back in the boxes anytime soon. So over here, we have Skeletor, and in this corner, we have He-Man. And they're both very impressive looking, albeit a few things that we're going to nitpick about for sure, but I got to tell you, initial glance, I'm absolutely blown away by these figures. It's like, if I had these toys as kids, oh my god. So I'm going to start with Skeletor first because he's got a lot less stuff here, so he's kind of the easier one to talk about first. And he's also the one that I think has a few negatives about him that I want to highlight. So our Skeletor here is based on, as I said, the Netflix animated series Revelations. And I think I want to point out the number of accessories he has. Even though I mentioned he has less than He-Man, it still is a lot of different things here. And I think that's kind of important to showcase first. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hands, 4 head sculpts, his Havoc staff, his power sword, and by the way, the Havoc staff also has a removable end piece, so you can make it a normal piece or a sharp pointy end. And he also has a base. Now the base is honestly not that interesting, so I don't really need to show it. You'll see some images of it here, but there's nothing really special about it. There's nothing really branded on or anything like that. It's just literally a typical base that Mondo's probably putting with all of their toys. It's very affordable, no frills, nothing fancy. Now, as far as Skeletor, he has that cel-shaded animated look. And the body is basically the same as our He-Man, I'm pretty sure. If not, it's very similar, but it looks pretty much the same aside from Skeletor's signature jabby-looking forearms. But yeah, he has the cel-shade animation. He has the thick black outlines on it to help make him look even more like a cartoon character. So that is what really is going to set him apart from our more realistic-looking He-Man. So I like to talk about likenesses with these things here, and there's 4 different likenesses to talk about. There are 4 different expressions of Skeletor, and you'll notice that all of the different skulls here, they're all basically naked. They're naked skulls. We'll do a quick head swap and see how this works. So I'm guessing the cowl part is soft. Yeah, it is a softer rubber. It's going to come out and be very easily replaceable. Let's find out. So it might be a little bit hard to see, but there's a little indentation all the way inside the cowl, and that's where it's going to connect to this little peg here. So a little bit of work, you can get in there, just line it up, and it is a little hard to do that without seeing it, but eventually you'll get it in the spot. And if you don't, quite honestly, you could probably just fake it, but there you go. It wasn't too bad. And let's see how easy that goes on. Hoping it goes on as easily as it came out. All right, so there's a little head swap. So that's how that works. I will admit, it felt kind of hard to grip him. And this cape, I guess we'll show you the cape right now too. It's a great looking cape. But the problem is it's kind of hard to like get a grip with him with this cape in the way because it is kind of a heavy thing. And I should add also this like more rigid plastic here that's up closer to like where its traps are. It makes it also similarly hard to get the head onto it. So that's just something for you to watch out for. It did take a little bit of work. Honestly, I'd recommend for these figures, you really got to heat up the joints. Don't risk it. This is, again, over $200, so don't risk it or you'll be very, very disappointed. But eventually the heads do go on. And the really cool thing about the heads also, which you couldn't tell with the initial head here, it looks like, but actually it does. All 4 of the heads that Skeletor comes with have movable jaws. That jaw is unhinged, it can articulate, he can talk, and you can have a real good time with these. So that's a fun little thing, and it basically doubles the amount of expressions you now have. Because again, you have Sad Christmas Skeletor, you have more serious Skeletor, you have pissed off Skeletor, and you have binging Netflix Skeletor. He's ready for Netflix and chill with Evil Lynn. So lots of heads, that part's really cool. As far as other accessories, we mentioned he has his Havoc staff. This thing is amazing looking. This thing has got a great weight to it also. Wonderful detail. Looks like it's been pulled straight out of the animated series. And as I mentioned, it does have this little end piece here that pops out. And you can then replace it with an additional accessory, which is this stabby bit here. So it's either for stabbing He-Man or for picking things out of Skeletor's teeth. He has a lot of teeth. And as far as weaponry goes, Skeletor also has a power sword. This is a nice silvery power sword, not a purple power sword like he would have had in the original animated series, those original toys. And I guess the reason being is that this is meant to be a different cartoon universe also. This is the Netflix animated series, so he doesn't have the purple sword. That's pretty much the reason why he doesn't. But otherwise, it's a very nice looking sword. I mean, it's different from the He-Man sword also, it looks like, because it actually is a little bit thinner. The handles are thinner, the sword is thinner, it's more streamlined. Even the hilt has got a little bit of difference to it. So different style of sword because it is a different continuity, I guess what you call it. But otherwise, great to see it again. Now, what I've saved for last are the numerous hands that we have. And the reason I've saved them for last is because they're kind of one of the negatives I would say about them. Now, swapping the hands out is actually not too difficult. In fact, I already swapped them off camera because these are not the hands he initially had on him. Originally, he had the closed fist hands on Skeletor. And you notice when I started the video, I had the Havoc staff just kind of like laying in this hand here. That hand is not really meant to be having anything in it. It was just basically resting in his palm. So unfortunately, he couldn't actually get them in these hands. These are the correct hands to hold. These are more of an open fist, and they're just super tight. They would not fit anything in them. I tried putting the sword in there, wasn't going in. I tried the Havoc staff. I even pulled the bottom of it off to try and make it a little more streamlined. It would not go in. In fact, I tried it on both hands, and both hands are now scratched up. That's really bad. For a figure as expensive as this, that shouldn't be a thing that happens. Both these hands have very rigid, very stiff plastic, and I don't even think any amount of heating them up is going to really help because they're really, really, really tight. So ultimately, just beware. I don't really know what to do with these hands. If anybody out there has this figure and knows what to do, please leave a comment because I'd love to get them holding as accessories. I mean, that's what they're there for. But the way these things are right now, it's just not going to happen. Now, as far as articulation on Skeletor goes, it's pretty good. He's actually pretty good right out of the box. He's got double jointed elbows. He has double jointed knees. But the thing is, with a figure as expensive as this, you're not going to be doing any real serious, crazy posing. For the most part, he's just going to be standing up straight. If they ever do a throne, you could have him sitting down in that. But really, he's not going to do anything super dynamic. And I would be afraid to do much very dynamic with him anyway. But I mean, all the joints for the most part move pretty well. I think even, yeah, actually surprisingly, even his chest does move decently well enough. Ball jointed neck, you can hear it's very stiff, as we showed you earlier. It was a lot of trouble. That's the reason why. It's very stiff, but it does move around. The wrists bend and flex and articulate nicely. He's got some pretty good flexibility too. I mean, I think he's more flexible than I am even. So overall, it's pretty solid articulation. I mean, this is like close enough to even I'd compare it to like a WWE Elite figure. A little bit more stiff in some places, but overall, straight out of the box, pretty malleable. And that's surprising, all things considered, since, you know, you guys already saw the problems we were having with the head and with getting things into the hands. Somehow the body itself is actually pretty darn flexible. So that's at least a positive. So that's our Skeletor. A lot of ups and a few downs, which is a little bit disappointing. But as we move over to He-Man, I gotta tell you guys, I feel like this is just up, up, and away, because it just gets better and better the more I look at this He-Man. This is truly the Ultimate He-Man. It has earned the name Ultimate He-Man because it really is that. So keep in mind, this version of He-Man, it's kind of like meant to encompass a lot of different eras and versions of He-Man. So while this is not necessarily the same continuity as the Netflix Revelations Skeletor over here, this is going to basically be here to resemble your original 80s cartoon, some of the comics, and even a few of the other toys. So this is our base He-Man here, and you've got right now a pretty plain head, but he also has, in addition to that, this more serious, angry He-Man face. But also rounding things out, we have this very awesome, very cool retro style action figure head. This one, it almost feels like it doesn't belong and it shouldn't belong, but it's honestly like perfect. And you guys can already see I've got him holding up his sword here. We got a few different accessories, so I am just going to kind of breeze through articulation again. I'm doing things out of order today just because I'm like really excited about this He-Man toy. But you know, I said that Skeletor was fairly malleable. I feel like He-Man's even better, and that's because he doesn't have that cape getting in the way, because it does make it a little bit harder to hold and move around. But yeah, as far as articulation goes, I mean, there's not really much to block him or anything like that. So I mean, you've still got the same amount of articulation and flexibility in the legs. You still have the same double jointed knees, which you can see right here. Same double jointed elbows to get some pretty dynamic posing. Ball jointed shoulders. I will say for this version of He-Man, his waist move is actually pretty good, but his chest is a little bit tight. It's not really budging at all. So this might be the kind of thing that I would have to heat up off camera. Same thing, you know, as I said about Skeletor, any joints in general, if you get these toys out of the box, while they are moving pretty nicely, I would still recommend you heat everything up with a hairdryer before you do any serious posing. And of course I have them in the classic I have the power pose, because why wouldn't you have them this way? So yeah, I do want to spend some more time diving into the many accessories he has, because that's really where this figure in particular is just amazing. So I think I'm going to start really with our outfit that's currently on him, and man, there's some cool stuff off the bat here. Now I do want to mention also the paint job on this He-Man too. Very different from Skeletor, because as we mentioned, Skeletor is that more cartoon style. This He-Man over here is a lot more realistic. It's got some weathering, it's got some shading across the body so you can create some better tone with him. It also has actual fur. This is fur for his loincloth. He has fur on his boots. That's outrageous. That's so cool to see. And outside of that too, there's a lot of different textures on this figure. I mean, it's not just like the smooth version you saw as a kid with your He-Man toy. These boots have some texture to them. There's like leather straps around them that make up the boots. His gauntlets similarly have the same kind of wraparound along with some metal bits on them. And his chest plate here, that thing is also really, really cool. Can't not talk about that chest plate. And that kind of starts to lead us into some of the other realms of accessories that we have here. So this He-Man, as I mentioned, is kind of like your base He-Man. This is like your He-Man OG. But in addition to this, we also have two different ways you can display him. So we have over here pieces for Battle Armor He-Man, and we also have the very rare originally released version of Thunder Punch He-Man, which is like really one of my favorite versions of He-Man. I have it in the Matty Collector format from way back, and that's like such a great toy. So it's very cool to see all these pieces here and give you that many different versions to do things with. And yeah, they all have similarly different hands. Thunder Punch He-Man has different gauntlets. There's all sorts of different odds and ends here. So we're going to do some part swapping right now just to see how this works out. And I do want to test the head here, because we haven't done that yet with this He-Man. And I'm kind of debating which head I want to put on, but I think for now I'm going to stick with Angry Head He-Man. And that went on real easy, unlike Skeletor over here, so he plays a lot nicer. So I want to try now taking off this thing over here. Let's see how this works. Looks like, okay. That's easy enough, so that's going to be how that comes out. I don't even think you need to take off the head to do this. It probably doesn't hurt to take off the head. Yeah, we'll do it just to be safe. So we're going to take this off, and let's start with, I think, our battle armor right now. So the cool thing about the battle armor accessories is that, you know, I was looking at this and I was like trying to figure out how to get this on him. Well, they're magnetic. So this is done already. That's it. That was so seamless. That was perfect. You got to probably lift his arms a little bit up there just to make sure it connects, but that's it. You're done. That's nuts to me. And not only that, talking about magnets here, We also have 2 chest symbols for our He-Man, just like the original Battle Armor He-Man had. And those are also magnetic. And just like that original toy, you've got a battle damage version here. Boom, there you go. Simple as that. He's ready to go. And we'll go ahead and put this head back on him. So we got the head back on him. I do want to swap out his weapon now. Let's see how the hands are. And just like Battle Armor He-Man, he has his axe. This is a really cool battle axe. It almost kind of reminds you of like the design for the He-Man 2000 series, similarly with that axe, but look at that. And that went right into his hand, by the way. Can we just point that out for a second, how the hand on this He-Man is like so much softer than the Skeletor? This is absurd. Why is one harder than the other? That doesn't make any sense to me why they would do that. But this is Battle Armor He-Man. He is ready for action. This thing looks so cool. This is perfect. Like, I love Battle Armor He-Man. This is rocking it. But we have one additional look to go with our He-Man now, and that is going to be the Thunder Punch He-Man. So I'm going to pop the head off again, and we're going to switch the cartoon head, I think, or rather the original toy head for this one. So let's see how this version goes on here. It looks like this actually is going to be not using magnets. We're going to be just doing classic style with little attachments here. And I'm definitely curious to see how easily these are going to fit. And as I say that, they're basically fitting with no problem whatsoever. So, okay, sure, make my life easy. Cool. That was seamless. Again, really easy. Let's swap the head right now. No problems here at all. Skeletor, are you paying attention? This is how you're supposed to be. Take notes. We're going to do a hand swap here, as well as a gauntlet swap, because Thunder Punch He-Man had different colored gauntlets. So I'm going to actually keep this weapon hand on, but I am going to change the hand on this one over here. And again, we're going to be swapping out the gauntlet, because you got to make this accurate. And I'm going to use one of his other special accessories here, and that will be the actual literal Thunder Punch that He-Man comes with. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is meant to be righty or lefty, and honestly, you know, this is the kind of thing, if you're like a stickler for accuracy with your toys, you'll know which hand it should actually be on, but I don't care. I just want it to look cool, and there you go. And the reason I'm also leaving some space for that is because I want to make sure he can hold this. This is the Thunder Punch He-Man sword. God, you gotta love translucent plastics, and it does not get better than this. This is gorgeous. This is glowing, flaming, bright, beautiful sword. And once again, can I just say how easy that went into his hands? That's stupid easy. So now we neglected to put these also on. We have 2 shields for our He-Man as well. This right here is the accurate Thunder Punch He-Man shield, which you could have definitely slid on here to get onto his hand. I'm not going to do that right now, but I do want to point out just how cool looking this shield is. It's not even just accurate, it's like 10 steps above what the original was. And again, that was a really cool toy originally. And not only that, this does come, just like your original Thunder Punch He-Man did, with some caps. The original toy did have some cap firing action. This one does not, because you can't really get away with it anymore, but at least you still have the memory of it and you can plop it right on in there. And I also neglected earlier to use our shield. This would have gone with our basic He-Man, but yeah, he does have the shield. This thing is like Mythic Legion's quality of detail. I mean, there's great leather detail here, wonderful looking metal here with lots of dents. Like, this has seen some combat. These shields are also both really heavy, really nice, sturdy pieces. Just great all around. But yeah, check it out, you guys. We have Thunder Punch He-Man. Now, granted, it does look a little funny with this head on him, but whatever, I don't care. This is like a dream come true. Like, everything about this He-Man, they got it right. They nailed every aspect of it. It really doesn't get much better than this. I do want to mention we have one other accessory here. I talked about his legs earlier. We do have a little small dagger that's over here. So you could say he's got a little knife in his boot, which is really cool. Comes right out. That's really nice. I don't remember ever seeing him use this in the cartoon or anything, but why not kid him out some more? So I think that just about covers it for both of these figures here, but to me the big question is, were these worth the money? Because again, these had very humongous price tags attached to both of them. Our Skeletor was $220, this He-Man was $260. That is a lot of money to shell out. And I will say for the most part, you know, again, these are 12-inch toys. They are limited as well. They're Mondo. You're paying for high quality. I mean, I'll tell you up front too, one thing I didn't even talk about was the plastic quality. And I can assure you guys, the plastic in both these, this is good quality plastic. This is not like Jazzwares AEW figures. This isn't like WWE Elite figures. This is even probably on par with like Storm Collectibles, perhaps even Hot Toys. It's been a while since I've had a Hot Toys figure, but the plastic quality is great, and you're paying for that as well. You're also paying for better paint application, because really, throughout both these figures, I didn't have any complaints about paint slop or paint being in the wrong places. They're both fairly clean. Like, I have nothing I could see that I would complain about with either of them. For me, the issues lie in some of, I guess you could say, the playability with them, and Skeletor really suffered the most. The fact that I can't put Skeletor's weapons in his hands is a huge detractor for me, and it's going to make me honestly a little bit scared to buy more Mondo figures. He-Man didn't have that problem. He-Man had a softer hand. For whatever reason, Skeletor had harder hands. I don't know why they chose to go that route. I couldn't get the accessories in. I just scratched up my very expensive figure. I don't want to have that happen to me again. I do appreciate the different number of hands that they both had, though. I do like the different heads that Skeletor had. I do like the different heads that He-Man had. I like the paint. I like the capes. I like the accessories. Flexibility is great too. And quite honestly, they're very photo friendly. These are perfect for taking figure photography, for posing in very basic places in basic ways. You can get a lot of bang for your buck with these guys. And if you're a serious He-Man collector as well, you're going to absolutely want these. This is the kind of centerpiece for your collection that you're looking to have. Otherwise, you're going to have an army of $25 figures, which are really cool, yes, but getting a piece like this will really stand out and elevate your collection. And for that, it's definitely worth it. But even just as toys themselves, as adult collectibles, these things absolutely nail it from every possible aspect. Of the two of them, if I had to choose just one, I would absolutely just be choosing this He-Man, and thankfully he was a little bit easier to get. The Skeletor is limited, as I mentioned earlier, to only 2,000 pieces. He-Man, similarly limited, but I don't think quite as much. But again, we got like 3 different outfits for the He-Man, lots of more accessories, and really he's just way cooler this way. I mean, you have so many more options, and frankly, it was just a better figure overall. But again, being a better figure and having more accessories also upped that price. So I'll say this about the figures overall, and this is kind of like in that area of hot toys again, where a toy gets really expensive because of what it has, because of what it comes with, because of the size, for many different number of reasons here. I would say that yes, they are both worth the money, but you do need to do some research with your Skeletor. Hopefully somebody out there knows how to actually safely get his weapons in his hands, because if you don't, you're out a lot of money there. But the He-Man itself, I will say, I think is near perfect, if not perfect. I really couldn't think of anything bad to say. I mean, I don't want to call him flawless, but I think it is. And I'm really so surprised by how much is going on with this figure, how much I like that this figure has. I mean, granted, I like He-Man a lot, enough to pay this crazy amount of money for it. But I mean, really, all the accessories, seeing them up in person and like being able to easily change them out, it's a whole new world for me. I'm really into this now. And I'm very curious to see what Mondo's going to do next with this license. And we should also add that Mondo these days has been doing the X-Men animated series as 12-inch figures. Don't have any of those. Maybe I'll start checking some of those out as well based on how good these were. We'll see how this goes. We'll see how you guys like it as well. But overall, I mean, if you are a Masters of the Universe fan and a serious Masters of the Universe collector, I think you got to take the leap and get these guys for yourself. So that's our look at the Masters of the Universe Netflix Revelations Skeletor and the ultimate version of He-Man from Mondo. Wow, I got myself my very first Mondo collectibles, you guys, and these things are really cool. I hope you liked watching them too. Let me know what you think in the comments about both these figures, and especially what you think about that price tag, because I know it's a big, hefty number, and it can be a very controversial number among collectors out there. So sound off on how you feel with these figures and their price tags. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, I have the power to buy more toys.